Welcome back to SwitchStars, my name's Luke, and in today's video we're checking out another title from those legends over at VG Games. And if you haven't seen my previous reviews on the back collection of scams, I recommend doing so as it might just save you a couple of quid. Today though we're taking a look at Jet Fighter Combat Europe Fly Plane Attack. A rather tame one for them at only 8 words long, and I've previously covered several flight simulator games on the channel, all of which have been absolute shite, but never until now a jet fighter simulator. So does this one perform exactly like it says in that eShop description? Well, hit that like button, subscribe for more Switch reviews and content, and let's find out. So as usual, forget a storyline cause there just isn't one, but hitting the main menu, visually it looks a little better than the usual at first, and then they go ahead and spoil it by sticking in a 10-second music loop which abruptly stops and restarts itself every couple of loops. Setting that aside though, we have 3 options here. We can play the Pacific War, World War II Air Combat, or Avatar Fight, but each must be fully completed to unlock the next one. We also have a shop available to us where we can unlock some extra jets, including an R-12J0, which I believe to be an F-15 Eagle, the F-10-12, which is presumably the F-35 Lightning II, and finally another F-10-12, which is probably the F-4 Phantom, but each of these is unlocked using the gold bars earned from missions. Getting into our first game mode though, Pacific War, this one has us fighting everywhere other than the Pacific, and we're given a map of Europe to work through, completing one mission at a time. Each of these missions though sees us battling in the airspace above an endless ocean with gunships dotted about the place, and usually a few jets flying about which we need to take down, and we ourselves flying our starter jet whose official type I couldn't actually be asked to pin down. Anyway, the objective in each and every one of these missions is to either destroy the opposing jets by blowing them out the sky with a well placed missile, or destroy the gunships, again with a missile since it's the only form of armament that we actually have. And while the jets produce a satisfying explosion when we blast them, the gunships on the other hand just sort of pop out of existence. Now taking either of these down turns out to be a relatively trivial task. You just follow the glitchy looking dots on screen, or as the game puts it, follow the red mark in the radar until the enemies come into sight, and then simply let rip with missiles which instantly home in on them and blow them out the sky, and in fact most of the time you don't actually even need to be looking at them to do this. The real pain in the dick with this one though is the fact that the control scheme, which consists solely of steering with the left thumbstick, doesn't allow you to roll your aircraft to get a tighter turning circle, nor can you slow it down. You can only speed yourself up using the left trigger, and the enemy turns on a T, but more on that one later. Like I said though, every single mission is pretty much the same thing. Shoot jets or gunboats, or a combination of the two, and I didn't once get shot down by an enemy aircraft, but after the joys of this one you'll then get to move on to the World War II mode. Much like the previous mode though, this one has you either shooting down aircraft or destroying gunboats, but as you probably guessed by the name, there's a subtle difference, as instead of a high-tech jet you'll be piloting what I can only assume is a Japanese Zero going by its markings, which is armed with machine guns instead of missiles, while your opponents on the other hand are packing both rockets and machine guns, and the gunships, which also happen to be Japanese, fire at you with cannons. But your objective remains the same: shoot them down, blow them up, and work your way through 8 more near identical levels whose thumbnails are all probably stolen from other games, like this one from Ace Combat 6, or in the case of this one, a wooden jigsaw puzzle. On to the last game mode then, we have Avatar Fight, which sounds like it could be an interesting one, but it isn't. Again we have 8 more missions with the same thumbnails, and the only thing setting these apart from the previous ones is the fact that you'll be switching between the jet and the World War II fighter plane, and will be facing off against modern jets with both of them. However, there is one peculiarity here, as in a single mission you'll have to destroy a bunch of tanks atop an aircraft carrier, but other than this the missions are identical. Oh, and going back to something that I mentioned earlier about jets turning on a T, it turns out that I was wrong, as they don't so much turn on a T and more turn on a whatever the fuck they want, so it's no wonder that I couldn't bank hard enough to keep up with them. Now finally, if you're wondering about the other aircraft you can unlock and what they bring to the mix, after all 32 missions I'd only amassed about 15,000 gold bars, enough to unlock a single aircraft, so of course I chose the F-35. And these can only actually be used in the first set of missions, but aside from turning a little faster, they're pretty much identical. So there you have it, that's the entirety of what this game has to offer, so let me just tick off that checklist of bollocks in the game's eShop description. Now let me see. Realistic graphics, well not quite, but they're probably some of the best graphics I've seen on the Switch and the performance is actually quite good. Realistic physics, well I'm not quite sure about that one. Stunning 3D models, again not too bad. Photorealistic skybox, that one's pushing it. Different type missions, there's the bullshit I've been looking for. And finally, smooth and easy controls, which the description says gives you 365 degrees freedom of movement, but it's actually quite restrictive. So a bit of bollocks in the description, but not as bad as some of the titles, though the screenshots are completely fake and are some of the worst Photoshop jobs I've ever seen, especially this one which has a jet firing at the top of a real aircraft carrier as it hovers above a pool of blue slime. All in all though, while it's not absolutely horrendous, it's only slightly better than the previous titles that VG Games have put out, and I'm not going to dangle a shit-coated carrot in front of you and tell you that it tastes nice. It probably tastes disgusting, but this game will likely leave a similar taste in your mouth if you decide to play it, so best avoid. With that said though, hopefully this one helped you out, and as always if it did, show your appreciation by dropping a like, subscribe for more Switch reviews and content, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.